John D. Rockefeller, the man who changed the world's wealth with oil. A 16-year-old boy had been wandering the streets of Cleveland for days, making the rounds of offices. His pockets were nearly empty, money was tight at home, and from every door he received the same answer: there is no need right now. But inside this boy was a strange fear. Not the fear of poverty, but the fear of living an uncalculated life. He knew that if he didn't learn to understand money today, tomorrow money would never understand him. Then one day he got a small job as an assistant bookkeeper. For 3 months he received no salary, then a total of $50 came into his hands. Hearing this amount today might sound small, but on that day, that boy hadn't just grabbed money, he had caught hold of his first door. Nobody knew that this quiet, calculating and soft-spoken boy would later go on to be called the modern world's first dollar billionaire. And the story doesn't get interesting right here, because his empire was built not just on earnings but on control. That boy's name was John D. Rockefeller. Born on the 8th of July 1839 in New York State. His father sold goods as a peddler, the family was ordinary, and from childhood he understood that first in life one doesn't have to learn to earn money, one has to learn to manage money. Rockefeller wrote down even his smallest expenses. He used to remember how many cents came in, how many went out, and who had to return how much. This habit seems very ordinary, but large empires often begin with such small calculations. He didn't complete high school. The condition at home made him grow up quickly. When other boys were dreaming of the future, Rockefeller was making an account of the future. For him, the world opened not through emotions but through numbers. But this very world of numbers was going to take him to such an industry that changed the face not only of America, but of the entire modern economy. This industry at that time was considered dirty, risky and chaotic: oil. America of the 1850s and 1860s was changing rapidly. Railroads were being laid, factories were growing, cities were demanding light at night, and kerosene was becoming a new weapon against the dark in people's homes. Oil at that time was not an organized business like today. Somewhere a well would burst open suddenly, somewhere overnight people would become rich, somewhere the entire investment would sink. It was like a gold rush, only black oil was coming out of the ground instead of gold. Most people were running after oil drilling because they felt the real money lay in extracting oil from the ground. But Rockefeller, looking at the crowd, asked the opposite question: if everyone extracts oil, who will refine it? Right here lay his first big twist. He focused on refining more than crude oil. Converting crude oil into a useful product, reducing waste, making transport cheap, and strengthening distribution, this was his real game. In 1863 he stepped into the oil refining business. He wasn't just taking a gamble, he was building a system. His eye was not on short-term profit, but on the entire chain. This very chain was later going to become a terror for competitors. Rockefeller was a quiet man, but his business style was extremely aggressive. He cut costs, increased efficiency, and kept track of every small thing. Where other people took decisions in excitement, he made moves through cold calculation. In 1870, the Standard Oil Company was formed. The name was simple, but the ambition was very big. Rockefeller wanted the standard of quality, price, and supply in the oil business to be set by him. That is, not merely to play in the market, but to hold the rules of the game. He made freight rebates and favorable deals with railroads. Oil transport became cheap, margins grew, and pressure came on rivals. Many competitors didn't even understand how Rockefeller was making a profit while selling so cheap. But this was not a story merely of selling cheap. Rockefeller had made scale into a weapon. The bigger the business, the more the bargaining power. The more the bargaining power, the lower the cost. And with lower costs, rivals began to run out of breath. Two paths remained in front of small refineries. Either break in competition with Standard Oil, or sell your business to it. Rockefeller many times presented an acquisition like a rescue, but for rivals it was a slow surrender. Gradually, Standard Oil didn't remain just a company. It became a network: refining, storage, pipelines, rail deals, agents, distribution, export. So many parts of the oil industry came into its hands that the heartbeat of the market began running on it. And then came that era when historians estimate that Standard Oil was controlling around 90% of America's oil refining business. Imagine a product that was connected with light, heat, and industry. Its control was held almost by a single empire. Here the fear in the story begins. Was Rockefeller a genius or a master of monopoly? Did he give cheap oil to America, or did he snatch away the freedom of competitors? The answer is not easy, which is why the story is still debated today. On one side, ordinary consumers got cheap kerosene. Quality improved, waste decreased, supply became reliable. At that time, light reaching homes was not just a convenience but a life transformation. Rockefeller accelerated this transformation. But on the other side, business rivals felt that this was not fair competition. Secret railroad deals, pressure tactics, acquisitions and market control made Standard Oil so powerful that even the government started sensing a threat. Rockefeller's most terrifying strength was his patience. He was not loud. He did not shout on stage. He quietly read contracts, looked at costs, and made such deals whose impact competitors understood months later. His personal life was different too. He was religious, disciplined, and donated from childhood. But this very contradiction makes him even more fascinating. A harsh businessman on one side, a systematic philanthropist on the other. People told two opposite stories about him. Some said he taught efficiency to modern capitalism. Some said he built wealth by crushing competition. Perhaps the truth sat somewhere in between these two. Meanwhile, public anger in America began to grow. Newspapers, reformers, and investigators started raising questions about Standard Oil's practices. Journalists like Ida Tarbell brought the company's internal story to light and changed the public mood. Now, Rockefeller was not just the richest businessman, he had become a national debate. A question was rising everywhere. Should any one man get so much economic power that the entire industry moves at his signal? The government challenged monopoly power through antitrust laws. The legal battle against Standard Oil went on for a long time. This was not just the case of one company, it was a character test of America's capitalism. In 1911, the United States Supreme Court delivered the verdict that Standard Oil would be broken up. The company was ordered to be divided into 34 different companies. Normally, the breaking up of an empire means a decline. But in Rockefeller's story, even this decision turned out to be an unexpected revelation. Standard Oil broke apart, but Rockefeller remained a major shareholder in those new companies. As the value of individual companies grew, his wealth kept growing too. Meaning the very breakup that was considered a punishment proved financially to be a blessing for him. This was a strange twist of capitalism. The government broke the monopoly, but the founder became even richer. Among the big energy companies whose historical roots are linked to Standard Oil today, names like ExxonMobil and Chevron come up. Meaning the empire broke, but its shadow is still visible in the modern oil world today. Then came the year 1916. The world was burning in the fire of World War I. British rule was in India. Economies were under stress. And during this very era, Rockefeller's net worth was considered to cross $1 billion for the first time. Hearing $1 billion today, we aren't that shocked because billionaires appear common in modern headlines. But in 1916, $1 billion was like a fantasy. This amount at that time could be compared with the budgets of several countries. For this very reason, John D. Rockefeller is called the modern world's first official dollar billionaire. This title was not just of wealth, it showed how vast industrial age had made individual power. But now comes the real question. How rich would Rockefeller be in today's money? Different estimates give different answers. Looking at inflation, the number comes out different. Looking at economy share, the picture gets even bigger. Many assessments consider his wealth equal to hundreds of billions of dollars today. References like Guinness World Records, based on share in the economy, place him among the richest modern figures in history. But comparison with Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, or Bill Gates is not direct. Today's net worth changes daily with stock prices. Rockefeller's wealth has to be understood from his share in the entire economy of that era. This very thing makes him not just rich but historically powerful. He became rich at that time when America was becoming an industrial superpower, oil was becoming the nerve of the world, and corporate control was taking new forms. Rockefeller's story is special because he didn't build a product, he built a system. He didn't discover oil, but he grasped the economics of the oil business. He didn't just run a refinery, rather he aligned the supply chain according to his terms. A big lesson lies hidden here. Many people see opportunity, but few people understand the machinery of opportunity. Rockefeller saw the machinery: cost, transport, refining, volume, credit, pricing, trust, fear, and patience. But his success also had a price. When a company becomes so big that rivals cannot survive, the line between efficiency and control starts to blur. Standard Oil was standing on this very line. Public criticism of Rockefeller kept growing. He became both the admired and hated face of America. For some people, he was self-made success. For others, he was a symbol of ruthless monopoly. But one thing was clear: he built wealth out of fear of poverty, but even after building wealth, he didn't become extravagant in spending. Discipline remained in his personal habits. He understood accumulation and allocation more than show off. His mother had given him the habit of saving, work, and church giving in childhood. Rockefeller later too kept looking at donation like a routine. This thing seems surprising because that same man was considered extremely harsh in business. Rockefeller invested a large portion of his earnings in education, medicine, and scientific research. His contribution is considered major in the development of the University of Chicago. The Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research later went on to become a major scientific institution. In 1913, the Rockefeller Foundation was formed. Its mission was linked with global health, education, and welfare. This foundation gave vast funding in public health, medical research, and education projects. Now the second phase of the story opens. The very man who was criticized for monopoly was also shaping the modern model of philanthropy. He was not just giving donations, he was building an institutional machine of organized giving. His thinking was not limited to charity. He wanted to build institutions that solved problems for the long term. Illness, education, and research. He looked at these with the same discipline with which he looked at business costs. Here a natural question comes into the audience's mind. Was philanthropy a way to clean his image, or truly a habit of giving learned from childhood? History does not give a simple answer to this. Perhaps both things were together. Rockefeller believed in giving due to a religious upbringing. But after such massive public criticism, philanthropy balanced his legacy too. Along with power, perception is managed as well. The influence of the Rockefeller family spread further ahead. From land donation in New York for the United Nations headquarters to philanthropic support around global institutions, the family's name went beyond just oil. But Rockefeller's real legacy lies not in any building or foundation, but in the question his life asks: does money make a man powerful, or does the ability to understand the system make money? A boy starts from an initial earning like 1 rupee and 50 paise a day, works unpaid for 3 months, then learns business from bookkeeping, then sees order in the chaos of the oil industry, and then turns that order into an empire. He didn't listen to noise in the market, he saw the pattern. Instead of running after drilling behind the crowd, he chose refining. He didn't catch the shine of the product, but the weakness of the process. From here his journey became from ordinary to extraordinary. But this story, along with inspiration, is a warning too. When growth turns into control, society asks questions. When efficiency starts becoming a monopoly, law knocks on the door. Rockefeller's empire broke, but his fortune grew. Critics grew, but foundations were built too. He was called a villain as well as a visionary. And perhaps this very contradiction made him so big in history. Today, when we see headlines of startups, billionaires, and market caps, Rockefeller's story holds up an old mirror. Real wealth is built not just from an idea but from the boring details of execution. He tells us that money doesn't come suddenly. First comes habit, then comes discipline, then comes the eye to recognize opportunity, and then such compounding begins that the world understands very late.
If this video has taught you something new, or if you feel this information should reach more people, don't forget to like and share the video. Your small share can become valuable and useful information for someone else. If you have any questions related to this topic, or if you would like to share your opinion with us, be sure to write in the comment box. We read every question and suggestion from you, because your feedback inspires us to create better content. And if you want to keep receiving such interesting and reliable information about business, the economy, and the world in the future, then don't forget to subscribe to our channel GRT Business and also press the bell icon so that you get notifications of every new video directly. At GRT Business, we always strive to provide you with accurate, balanced, and reliable information. Our news and analysis are prepared based on information obtained from various news agencies, public sources, and public opinion. We make every effort to verify and validate each fact as much as possible, but in case of any possible error or dispute, the responsibility lies with the respective sources. Our only aim is to present you with a correct and trustworthy perspective so that you can understand any topic better.